When all I have it rests on ticking hands, I have my ways, descent delayed, and I have tried to make you see a brighter hue. But deep down I know I'll be forever blue. And there's a blackness inside me that's breaking through. But deep down I know I'll be forever blue. Forever blue. Nobody wants to learn a thing these days. An endless coil of waste and toil. Empires are built upon the ashes of the weak and frail, those doomed to fail. And I've been trying to set free a lighter hue. But deep down I know I'll be forever blue. And there's a blackness inside me that's breaking through. But deep down I know I'll be forever blue. Forever blue. Forever blue. My colors will release.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Area iRacing's Championship Week. We're live in Phoenix for the championship deciding race for the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series here in Avondale, Arizona. I am our celebrity Leo Nasser. Joining me in the booth, as always, is Jacob Bell and executive producer Harold Darner. How's it going, guys?
It is an honor to be here, Hunter, and sharing the booth with you for one final time this season. We got the ARCA cars, we got the Final Four, we got Phoenix Raceway, the new Phoenix Raceway. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and most importantly, we get to crown a champion for the first time ever in area history tonight.
That is something that I am glad to be a part of as well, Jake, along with Harold Darner, our executive producer for the entire season, really, in area. Harold, how's it going tonight with you?
I'm doing pretty good, and like I said, it's weird. We started this thing, quite a while ago, but it didn't seem that long ago. But we're 17 weeks in, and we're about to crown our very first champion. If the guy that wins, kind of like we talked about Halda, the guy that won the very first race gets to say, I was the first. The guy that wins the championship tonight of the ARCA Area Pro Series gets to say he was the first champion.
Yep, one of these four drivers will be crowned champion after tonight's race in Phoenix. And if we can throw up the graphic showing who is a part of the championship four, they'll be going at it, battling for a title. On your screen, you'll see, there it is, the four championship drivers. You got Matthew Robinson and James Shanewolf there on the left, and there you see the car numbers to keep an eye on as the night goes on, along with Dominic DeLeo and Gary Lewis. Kind of would say the favorites are on the left and the underdogs are on the right.
I agree with you, Hunter. I think these guys got here in a variety of different ways, and we'll touch on that here in a moment. But Robinson and Shanewolf, the proverbial favorites all season long, and this isn't the first time we've seen a duel between the two best friends of Robinson and Shanewolf, but you cannot count out any of these four. Dominic DeLeo's won the last two races, and then Gary Lewis, he's been there all season long after missing the first race at Daytona, so It's up for grabs, man. I think I could see any one of these guys grabbing the championship tonight and becoming our first ever official champion. Nonetheless, though, it's going to be a blast to watch and see exactly how it all unfolds.
All it takes is one race, and this is the deciding race. Now, points will not be a factor. It will go by how it goes in the typical NASCAR series, where the finishing results will determine the champion. So Gary Lewis could finish second and have an incident point. And then third place could be James Shane Wolf with 0 incident points on a lap led. Would not matter because Gary Lewis finished second, James Shane Wolf finished third. So that is how the race will be decided. And who knows, the winner of the race could also be the winner of the championship.
Exactly. And I think that's something I'm really curious to see if that's how it plays out. I think obviously, that's something we see a lot in the real life, in the real world, in the real side of racing things. But we've never really done this on iRacing. So I'm curious if it's going to take the win on the racetrack to be the champion, or if you're just going to have to be the first across the finish line out of the other four competitors in this final four. But I think with the amount of practicing I've seen being done this week from James Shane Wolf, Robinson, DeLeo, Gary Lewis, they've all put in countless hours, it feels like, to get ready for this race. I think we'll probably see these guys 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep, and we mentioned it before. We'll go in depth with each of our championship 4 drivers, starting off with probably the favorite from the beginning of the season, Matthew Robinson. He is the only driver to have a top 10 in every race. He's made it to every race and has had a top 10 in every race. He's gotten the top 5 in 14 of those 16 races that we've had earlier in the season, and he went back-to-back a while. The second and third race of the season, wins that came both on short tracks. And those are the type of tracks that Robinson prefers, other than the 1.5 and 2 mile plus tracks.
And I think that's why he has to be the favorite tonight, right, Hunter? You mentioned it. He got his 2 victories. He got the first one at Homestead, and obviously Homestead, a very hot and slick racetrack at the time when we were there. But then the second one came at Iowa, and there's really no comparison to what we're going to see tonight here at Phoenix. But if you had to label a track that could be somewhat similar, I think it's the braking and the tight corners that we see at Iowa Speedway. I think you could parlay that into what we're going to see here tonight at Phoenix. And like you mentioned, just an absolutely incredible stat I don't think we'll ever see replicated, where in 16 races this season, Matthew Robinson has finished no worse than 9th place every single race. So definitely big kudos to him. He's been a heavy hitter all season long, and tonight he could be the first ever area champion.
He'll be going against 3 other hungry drivers that are one to etch their name into the championship trophy. And another one of those is James Shane Wolf. He's won half of the playoff races. He won the first 2 playoff races to start out the playoffs before getting moved by Dominic DeLeo. But he's won 3 of the last 8, and it just seems like ever since the playoffs started, he's flipped the switch, and he's been consistent and one of the faster cars that we've seen on the racetrack.
Yeah, James has been right up there with Robinson, but, the first half of the season really felt like it was all Robinson up front in that 40. Well, you mentioned it, the playoffs start, and all of a sudden James Shane Wolf started showing up out in front and winning races. He's won 2 of the 4 playoff races, like you mentioned there. Swept the first round of the playoffs, actually. So Shane Wolf has been super, super fast as of late. He's definitely getting hot at the right time, as he likes to say. And I think the other interesting fact with Shane Wolf is he has led a lap every race he's been in this season, with the exception of Talladega, because his pedals were broken at that race. So probably the easiest track, Hunter, to get a lap led is Talladega, and that's the only one he hasn't led at this season. So he's going to be up front tonight.
It just shows the talent that Shane Wolf has, and the next driver that we're going to be talking about, it shows just how much he's progressed throughout the season, and that's Dominic DeLeo. He's won the last 2 races coming at Michigan and Kansas, and he missed the first couple of races, but one of his first races on iRacing was actually in this league, and he's just progressed since. Started slow with the top 10, then the top 5, and now he's got 2 straight wins heading into Phoenix, riding all that momentum in the playoffs.
Absolutely. The New Jersey native, he told me his first start in our league was at Homestead, and that, like you mentioned, one of his first races ever on iRacing. He actually put out a really cool tweet a little bit earlier in the week that that he was pretty much he put out a tweet at the time that he was just now getting into iRacing. He was going to try his hand at our league. We were lucky enough to be the first league that he's ever been a part of, and I think it was 5 months later now, here he is racing in the Final Four with a chance at the championship. So definitely a lot of Dominic DeLeo fans we've seen in the chat all season long. But the New Jersey native looking to etch his name into our history books and become our first ever champion in this series.
It's hard to miss in that number 21. He's going to be quick all night long, I can already tell. And the last driver we'll be talking about, I feel like he'll be pretty quick all year long as well. And that's Gary Lewis in the number 69. Part of One Mind to Design, now Transcendent Motorsports, but he's got a pretty cool throwback. If we could get a better look at it, there we go. He heard me and
he's coming out. Yeah,
as Alan Kulicki throwback in his One Mind to Design paint scheme, the number 69. But although he doesn't have a win on the year, he's been very consistent along with his teammate Forrest Smith, now in the newly rebranded Transcendent Motorsports, and these two have been something to keep an eye on because they've always been inside the top 10 and the top 5. And, Ryan Newman made it to the Final Four without a win and almost won the championship. So we could see the same tonight, except the 69 of Gary Lewis holding that championship trophy.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Hunter. Gary, another one of those guys who actually joined the season late, but his consistency has got him here. 9 top 10s in 15 races for Gary Lewis. Was the final driver to punch his ticket to the championship for it. He had to save fuel last week at Kansas just to even have the opportunity to make it here tonight. He was about, I think, 3 laps short on fuel going into that last run at Kansas, but was able to stretch it all the way to the end, get the finish he needed to punch his ticket here to Phoenix and get an opportunity to race for the championship. And, man, Gary Lewis, you got to keep an eye out for him. He could be our sleeper pick tonight.
Very well could be. All 4 drivers have an equal shot at winning the championship, and we'll take a 10-minute qualifying session to determine where those 4 drivers will start and where the rest of our drivers will pair up in this 120-lap race that we'll be seeing in just a moment. And also, the champion of the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series will get a season's worth of setups for 2 race cars, courtesy of Maconi Setup Shop.
Yeah, that's something we haven't touched on, I don't think, much this season, but there's a little bit of reward on the line, and we'll also get into the team championship as well later on tonight. That's pretty much wrapped up as well, but obviously some rewards there to hand out, so it's definitely been a cool season. We got qualifying underway now, and I think we have a championship driver in Matthew Robinson out on the racetrack.
Yeah, Matthew Robinson, we saw on the top left. Our 4 playoff drivers were inside the top 5 in practice speed, so they've all brought their best to this racetrack, and I feel like one of those we might see on the pole. There's Shane Wolf going up for his first lap.
Right on cue.
Matthew Robinson, yeah. So these guys will have 2 laps to put up their fastest times, and you'll see that change throughout the top 10 and the rest of the field on the left-hand side. And on the top right, just below the 1 to go logo, we'll see the fastest guys we saw with James Shane Wolf.
A little bit surprising for me to see these guys jump out right as qualifying opens up. That sun's still setting out here at Phoenix. Track temp's just going to get lower as the night goes on, but these guys wasted no time, and they wanted to get out. And it looks like the fastest lap is actually the quickest one. So Robinson right now with that 27:19 is going to be slated second behind James Shane Wolf. But I wouldn't be surprised, Hunter, if we see those other 2 drivers in the championship 4 wait till the very end of this session before they go out.
Everyone's got their different strategies with handling qualifying. And we've seen some throughout the year just completely skip qualifying and then just decide to see how their car works through in the race as they're working their way through the field.
Yeah, Ed Robertson in the Cup Series got the win last week at Kansas to make it into the Final Four, and he has not qualified a single race this season, Hunter. 16 races in Cup, not a single qualifying effort made from the 64, and he'll be racing for a championship on Thursday night. So, like you mentioned, a lot of different approaches these drivers like to take.
I don't believe he'll be qualifying for the Cup race, if I had to guess.
Yeah, probably, right? You don't want to change something. What is Richard Petty's quote? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
There's a lot of things that are broken. They're quote-unquote fixed, but I don't think we'll see Ed Robertson qualifying if I had to guess. So we see Forrest Smith go up to 4th on the chart. His teammate Gary Lewis is racing for the championship, and it's a shame that the race for that final spot, because the top 3 were basically settled in, it had to come down between either one of these guys, Gary Lewis and Forrest Smith, both teammates.
Yeah, the teammates had to duel it out at Kansas, and Really, the difference was that pit stop that Forrest Smith made early in the race and electing to stay out early in the race, and that ended up to come back to bite him with the long green flag runs, but it worked into Gary Lewis's favor. He did have to save some fuel, like I mentioned, but was able to get the job done, and we'll see what he's got here in qualifying.
We saw him working his way on the outside just before taking the green flag lap and then cutting down through the dogleg. That's something we'll see a lot in the night, not just in qualifying, but in the race as well. Could see some bonsai moves being made down on the dogleg, and we've seen some of the drivers already. As we see Gary Lewis come down, he does it again. He's P6 at the moment, 27.295. But we saw Matthew Robinson do it from the get-go, and who knows, we could see it from this next car in Bobby Tinch.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Gary Lewis is actually going to pick up on his second lap. We saw the front row right now of Shane Wolf and Robinson. Their quickest was lap 1. Well, Gary's coming to complete lap number 2 here, and he really needs to pick up if he wants to join them in that top 3 starting spots.
Ooh.
And it looks like he's not going to be able to do it.
No, not after that slide coming out of 4.524 won't do it. So Gary Lewis is going to start P6 at the very least, although that could change. We see Nicholas Halda coming in to pit road after completing his second lap, and Bobby Tinch completed his second lap. He's 13th. His first lap did not count because he must have made contact with a wall.
We're also still waiting on Dominic DeLeo, the final of our 4 drivers, to go out and make his qualifying effort. And we're not even halfway through this qualifying session, and a lot of times have been posted already. So, Hunter, my theory is always wait till the sun goes down to try to get the track temp as cool as possible. But these guys have been practicing this week, not me. So we'll see maybe if they know something I don't. And with the time Shane Wolf and Robinson both were able to put out only drivers in the 27.1 bracket, they probably know what they're doing out there. And by the way, a huge gap from James Shane Wolf back to Matthew Robinson, almost a 10th quicker for the 31.
We mentioned that every championship driver is going to have their different ways at attacking this racetrack, not just in practice, but in qualifying as well. And Thursday night, we've got basically all Samson-related drivers or Samson satellite drivers as well. We got the entire fleet of Samson Motorsports with David Weishart, Tyler Holman, and Garrett Grant, and then Ed Robertson is also a Samson friendly team-friendly car as well. So it's basically going to be all Samson guys, but all those, they're teammates for 16 races of the year, and now they've got to fend for themselves for a championship.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Tonight is probably the most unique circumstance where all 4 drivers are all 4 part of different teams as Dominic DeLeo's coming to start his qualifying run. I noticed he was really high through turn 3 and 4 there coming to get the green flag, probably setting up to make lap 1 his money lap there in the number 21 car. Looks great, by the way, with that sun setting on that orange chrome that Elwood Designs was able to put together. It's got a really good vibe around this racetrack, around that number 21 car.
Yeah, hard to miss it. Stands out a lot. You see him working his way off turn 4 and comes across the start-finish line. P4, not bad at the 27.221. Now we'll see if he can pick up on his second lap, but it seems like the fastest lap these guys put down is on their opening lap. We'll see if Leo can prove that theory wrong.
And he really set up for his opening lap 2. So I can't picture lap 2 being too much quicker. But we'll see what he's able to muster here as he comes to the stripe.
He is 9/1000ths off of Vern Hawkins, the car just in front of him, and a 27.345. So it's not quick enough. It's about a 10th off. So he will stay in 4th place for the moment. But Gary Lewis, we know, is going to be the deepest in the field amongst those contending for the championship.
And also, the 4th playoff guys all qualifying in the top 7 speaks to how prepared they came to the racetrack as well. So they swept the front row at the moment. We'll see if Paul Irvin has anything to say about it, but it looks like he's actually going to give up here on this qualifying effort. Got a little loose there through turn 3. But the times speak for themselves, Hunter. Only a 10th and a half difference from James Shane Wolf all the way back to Gary Lewis, and he's starting 7th. So we got a really tight field here tonight.
And speaking of tight field, this driver has also been a thorn in the side of some of the playoff drivers as he's had speed similar to theirs throughout the second half of the season. That's Travis Beckner. Beckner has always been one of those guys that's kind of progressed as the season's gone on. He's been inside the top 5 for a good majority of these races.
Yeah, Beckner he's going to be something. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with in these next few seasons here in area. He just keeps getting better and better. But looks like lap number 1 here in his qualifying effort, he's actually gonna break up our front row of playoff drivers.
Yeah,
Like you mentioned, Hunter,
for Beckner. Yep.
the thorn in the side of the playoff drivers right there is a perfect example. He's going to break up that front row.
Yeah, he thought about coming down pit road. He'll just slow her down on the back stretch here. Kind of weird to call this the back stretch after growing up watching Phoenix, this being the front stretch for so long, and then the reconfiguration that occurred just a few years ago. But the renovations that this place has made is perfect for a championship event like this.
Absolutely, and I'm excited to see it because this is something I haven't seen, at least on iRacing, is this Final Four format and coming to a track like Phoenix, like you mentioned, newly renovated, and getting a chance to see that new start-finish line placement, how that's going to be adjustment, how the adjustment's going to be for our drivers there. Our drivers also have to adjust to a completely different restart format. A lot of these guys are going to be, used to the pace car diving in and just gassing from there. Well, this time we got to wait all the way till we get to the restart zone before these drivers are able to fire. So they're going to be pretty much alone on the back straightaway without a pace car before they're able to get the green flag and get this thing started.
Jake, have we touched up on the championship standings for the team standings?
No, that's what I was going to say. With One Mind to Design right now, they have pretty much essentially clinched the team championship between Gary Lewis and Forrest Smith. But the one thing they do have to hold out for, which, hopefully we don't see it, but there could be any penalty points after tonight's race that could potentially cost them the championship. So it's not officially official till the race is over and the points are final.
I just wanted to clear that up because Gary Lewis wanted to shout out for him and Forrest Smith in their run at the Owners Championship, and I think we're seeing qualifying wrap up, so we'll get your starting lineup in just a moment. There we go. On the left side, you'll see your starting row for tonight's race at Phoenix. Got James Shanewolf, the highest of the Championship 4 drivers, on the pole, and starting alongside him, the highest that's not contending for a championship, Travis Beckner.
Row 2, you got Matthew Robinson in the number 40. Outside of him is going to be Vern Hawkins in the 41.
Row 3, another playoff driver, championship contender now, Dominic DeLeo. And alongside him is teammate Mark Patterson, so Physicus Motorsports taking up row 3.
Then our final four driver is going to be Gary Lewis back in row 4. He'll be joined by Eli Green, but the 69's got to come all the way from P8 if he wants to win this championship.
And starting one spot behind him in row 5 in the 9th spot, Forrest Smith. And alongside him, the number 22 is Sean Corcoran.
And then in our 11th place spot, you got Rick Christensen there in the 19, and starting 12th is going to be Jeremy Horn there in the number 81. And Hunter, I'm going to let you take it from here.
All right, so row 7 going to be Nicholas Halda, the Daytona winner. As he's mentioned throughout the broadcast, Bobby Tinch going to start alongside him in row 7 in the 14th spot. Row 8 is going to be Paul Irvin in the 4, and alongside him is Adam Capps in the 55. And row number 9 is going to be Nicholas Trader, and alongside him, Brian Dixon in the 33. And in the final row, at the very least, Ryan Swan and Rick Ward. That is your field for tonight's race at Phoenix. Got 20 cars, 120 laps. And we know that David Weishart's going to be running for a championship for the Cup Series on Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. Cup. Real life Cup racing was yesterday, Sunday, but he's going to be running for a championship Thursday. And talked to him in the pre-race just to kind of get a grasp of the fuel, what it's going to be like. He says that throughout the race, there's going to have to be at least one pit stop made by these guys. So
yeah.
No one can go from the drop of the green flag to the checker flag without pitting. And that is the insight he gave me.
All right, well, here we go, Hunter. Final 4 is set. Phoenix. These guys are lined up, ready to go. We got one last chance to try to get our picks right here.
Are we doing championship picks? Because if so, I'm going to go with Dominic DeLeo in the number 21. Bright Orange 21, can't miss it.
My money tonight's on James Shanewolf to win the title. And Harold, real quick, we'll get you in.
Matthew Robinson.
Ooh. So all our picks are starting on the inside there.
Here we go. Restart zone coming up, Hunter.
They work their way to the restart zone, and James Shanwolf will lead them down. And the championship race is underway at Phoenix.
It's a good start for James, able to jump out and also bring Matthew Robinson along with him. So now championship drivers take up the top 2 spots, and we got a caution in the back.
Well, that didn't take long. It looked like they was in the middle of turn 2, so we'll take a look at our 1 to go replay. It seems like very frequently, as of recent, we've had an early caution in some of these races. We'll see it coming right here. The 55 of Adam Capps just spins it, coming off of turn number 2. And it was still in the line of some of the drivers that were working to get around him, so that is a reason for our early caution tonight.
Yeah, Capps now going to be set to the rear for bringing out caution number 1, and a quick one there, Hunter, a quick little slide through the exit of turn 2 there on the bottom, but nonetheless, we're going to get a chance to restack them and get to go at it again. And I don't know if I really touched on it pre-race, but that restart zone, this is the first time all season long where we've had to rely on the restart zone on the racetrack. Other tracks we've been to, as soon as that pace car pulls in, the leader can fire anytime after that. Well, obviously Phoenix, that long back straightaway without a pace car, we don't want them firing there, so they got to wait all the way until we get to turn number 3 before the leader can fire.
It'll be a tough task tonight for our admins, or tougher than normal. Brad Slar and Eric Wineland, I see up there in the admin towers, are going to be looking at the restart, because we, as you mentioned, we really haven't had to worry about that all year, because as soon as the pace car goes, that's when the field can go. But because the pit road entrance is right off the exit of turn 2, as you mentioned, they'll be taking a closer look at the restart box to determine, especially if there's a late race restart, like say a green white checker. They'll look to see if anyone jumps it. Like it could be leader or second place, but still on the lookout. We're early into the race at Phoenix. Caution early? Not much has changed. Shane Wolf still the leader, although Matthew Robinson now up to second after that. Beckner down the third, Vern Hawkins in fourth, and Dominic DeLeo rounding out the top 5 with Gary Lewis running in ninth.
So just got 2 to green here up on the admin towers. So these guys still got a few more pace laps here to work in. But I'm curious, Hunter, man. That was just like a quick little taste, but we already saw a lot of 2 and 3 wide racing just in a half a lap. 120 of these things, it can bring a completely different story for the end of this race and who finishes where. I noticed Gary Lewis dropped a spot. I also noticed Matthew Robinson wasted no time using that inside line to his advantage. So I'm curious what James Shanewolf is going to decide to go with here, whether it's the top or the bottom. But given what we saw in restart number 1, or start number 1, I should say, I would say the bottom is the place to be.
I would say if we continue to have early cautions at this rate, I think David Weishart's pit road, or pit at
pit prediction, yeah, right?
Pit prediction, yeah. His pit prediction might be invalid.
I think there is a legitimate chance these guys can maybe stretch it on one stop. We know for the Cup cars, it was looking like 55 to 60 laps of fuel per run. There's a chance in these Arca cars it's very similar, and with these caution laps, they might be able to push it past lap 60, make their only pit stop of the race, and be good from there.
We'll have to see as the lights are out on the pace truck. The pace car, pace truck. And the field will work their way around for our first restart of the night. Now, we saw the different lines being used around the racetrack. Now, this isn't an accurate scan because there's no PJ1 there.
Yeah.
You see on the upper grooves of the turns. So we still will see guys using the top, the middle, and some big sends on the bottom. Very early on, and we got our chance at a restart to see what it looks like. Now, Shane Wolf has chosen the bottom, Robinson on the outside. Such an agonizing wait.
I know.
And now they go in the Geico restart zone. And Shane Wolf once again leads the field back to Green Flag Racing.
And again, it's the third place driver who gets a good jump. Now this time it's Travis Beckner trying to work around Matthew Robinson for P2 in the entrance of turn 1 and 2 here. Robinson stuck up high. These guys might be side by side here down the back straightaway.
Yep, best thing Shane Wolf could see in his mirror. Beckner still going at it with Robinson for that second spot.
Man, these guys really cut that dog leg and get close to the pit wall.
Now, unlike Rillick, I don't believe it'll upset the bottom of the car so much.
Oh, it will. It will.
Oh, it will. Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, we tested some different things. I even heard some guys getting a little bit of optional repair required just from hitting that so many times and so aggressively that it could actually tear up the bottom of these race cars.
Nonetheless, we still see them going down through the dog leg.
Yeah. Oh, 3 wide for Robinson back there, it looks like. He's got the 41 of Vern Hawkins. He's racing around, and it looks like Eli Green is well there in the 28. But the 40 Robinson, he's going the wrong direction here early.
Hawkins might have clipped the wall there coming out, too.
We'll see a lot of that, I think. That exit of turn 2 is so tough here. And then also, I mean, this exit of turn 4 right coming to the start-finish line. I wouldn't be shocked if it gets tight there at the end of this race for the championship. We see somebody just floor it into that wall coming to the finish.
I think the only car that went through the actual front stretch was Eli Green. I didn't see anyone else. Everybody else is using that dogleg shortcut to their advantage.
But here comes Dom DeLeo, Hunter. He's now starting to pick his way up through this field. He's racing with Eli Green for that 5th spot, and it looks like he's going to be able to clear him here by cutting the dogleg, as we like to say, going down into turn 1 and 2. But Robinson right now -2 since the start of this thing. DeLeo, I believe, is maintaining that 5th spot, so I'm a little concerned right now about Matthew Robinson, but it's very early on in this race. But 120 laps will go by pretty quick, I believe.
Yep, very early on. We'll see the comers and the goers from their short run speed to their long run speed. And we saw that last week with Dominic DeLeo. His long run speed just really thrived during that race last week at Kansas.
Also see now the 45 of Travis Beckner starting to close in slightly on our race leader of James Shanewolf. And, Hunter, we talk a lot about Beckner and how much, he's improved these last few weeks. One of the main reasons we got to mention is James Shanewolf kind of taking Beckner under his wing. They practice a lot together. They've been racing a lot together. Somewhat of teammates for Audible Racing this season, and I think Beckner has really learned a lot from racing with James.
Oh, absolutely. And, really the first time he stood out to me was that Talladega race in which he didn't know that you could actually go below the yellow line on the last lap, and that race Caleb Steimer won. But he followed up from that by finishing 1 spot better the next week at the Glen. And I believe it was he and Shane Wolf that had contact in the Truck Series race at the Glen, which, by the way, shout out to Harold Darner for going on that camera angle as they were working their way through the S's, because, I mean, what an unbelievable save that Beckner had. But, yeah, I really only knew him for that. But ever since then, he's really started to grow on me, and he's really progressed, and I'm excited to see what's to come of him for next season.
Absolutely. He's got some cool stuff he's working on, I believe, with that whole team, and Shane Wolf really being one of the big pillars over there. So they're closing in for the lead, also closing in for 3rd. Now Robinson getting back on the back bumper of Vern Hawkins and looking underneath the 41.
Yeah, these guys look like they're settled out now. Vern Hawkins close to within a second of the leader, Shane Wolf. And I think Robinson's just sort of using that to his advantage, or maybe waiting until the 41 of Hawkins makes a mistake.
He's got a good run here, but I don't think he's going to use it. I think, Robinson kind of traditionally been known in this ARCA series, at least, as one of the better guys on the long run. Well, tonight here at Phoenix, we saw short run wasn't necessarily playing to his favor, so maybe he's got something here in these next 50 laps before they have to come down pit road that could really start to show the strengths of Matthew Robinson.
See the different lines that these guys take. We're starting to see some of these guys up front start to run towards the bottom, but Eli Green, he's in the wall, actually. I was just going to say he clipped the wall coming on corner entry, but he would diamond the corner. So he would enter high in turn 1, then make a transition to diamond it down in the middle of 1 and 2 and get that low run on the exit.
Yeah, I think that's something we'll see a lot at this track with just the way that the corners are shaped. It's very unique, and a lot of different approaches will be taken going into the corner and on exit, trying to get the best run possible. And, I think that's something, I get them twisted up all the time, but this is technically turn 1 and 2. That's something we'll see a lot here in turn 1 and 2 for sure. People trying to get the best run coming off the corner down this long back straightaway. Beckner kind of closed in on James Shainwolf that we talked about that first little green flag stint. And then once he got around 2/10 behind him, he hasn't been able to kind of close that bubble in much more than that. And they've pretty much stayed stagnant. And I believe now the 41 and the 40 of Robinson are starting to catch our race leader. And we might have a 4-car race for the lead here in a few laps.
Robinson getting an eye off turn 4, really. I'm expecting to see someone just hit the wall at this point.
Yeah.
How high they're taking it through the turns, especially turn 4, because you want to get as wide as you can and then just make a sharp beeline down that dog leg.
And also, I mean, this track is still pretty well lit from sunlight, so we still got a lot of transition left. Even on the track alone, in terms of track temp, before this thing's all done, you can barely start to see the lights now turning on and the reflections on the race cars from that. So a lot of changes now between lap 20 and lap 120.
Yeah, a lot of people say California is the sunshine state, but Arizona has a good bit of sun, and if it's not the sunshine state, it is the second sunshine state in America.
Well, my feelings are hurt because Florida is actually the sunshine state, my home state.
Oh, I've been duped this whole time.
You have been, I guess. Man, look at
things
Beckner.
every day.
Beckner's still creeping even closer now on James Shainwolf, but I don't know if he's ready to risk the move and try to make a pass on the race leader.
Well, you mentioned it earlier that Shainwolf is kind of taking Beckner under his wing and basically taught him everything that he's learned throughout the season. So Beckner obviously knows that Shainwolf is going after a championship and doesn't want to affect that in any way, shape, or form. I think by him just staying behind the 31, it's allowing Shainwolf to kind of use that as a shield.
No, you're right. You're right. I think that's a good point, too, because, there are some benefits of having teammates. We saw last week the teammates were dueling for the final spot in the championship board, but in a situation like this, you need all the help you can get to try to win a championship, even a driver's championship, something that's an individual award. But you can definitely see some benefits and reap the benefits of having teammates. But I'll tell you what, Hunter, that 45 keeps getting closer and closer. I don't know if he'll ride behind Shainwolf for too much longer here.
We might see that 31. I don't think he's been in dirty air all race.
No. And also, I mean, this is something we've typically seen of James Shainwolf also is on the long runs. They favor Robinson. They do not favor James Shainwolf. He seems to be somebody who's very quick on the short runs there. Looks like we lost our camera there on Travis Beckner, but going back here to James Shainwolf up front, he's somebody that's really been strong on the short runs. And, a track like Phoenix being so much shorter in distance and length, the laps aren't technically, they don't count as much in terms of tire wear as they would at a mile and a half like Michigan, or a mile and a half like Kansas, or a 2-mile track like Michigan. These laps are going by so quick that 24 laps at Phoenix is really more so equal to about 10 laps at Michigan in terms of tire wear.
Absolutely. I was blown away by the fact that we're already within 100 to go. I mean, it's a shorter racetrack, and these lap times, they go by in a hurry, as we're actually seeing Robinson go low on Vern Hawkins there for that third spot going into turn 1. Looked like Hawkins had a wobbly exit off of turn 4, and Robinson saw an opening, went for it, and got it. So Matthew Robinson up to P3, but still the battle for that championship. It's all James Shainwolf at the moment. Robinson now third on the racetrack. Dominic DeLeo back in 6th, and Gary Lewis running in 7th.
Yeah, Gary Lewis, to his credit, though, he has closed in a little bit on Dominic DeLeo in this front group, but he's still 5.5 seconds back of race leader James Shainwolf. So he had to get around the 19 of Rick Christensen there and the 84, his teammate of Forrest Smith. And now that 69's got a clean racetrack out in front of him. Unfortunately, though, he's got a long way to go right now. He's 4th of our 4 championship drivers.
Hey, a caution could come out at any moment. It could change the dynamic of this race. We saw it in the Cup Series where it looked like Martin Truex was going to be the champion. Then a late race yellow came out. They pitted, and then Kyle Larson just drove his way right through the field. Had an excellent pit stop, by the way. Don't want to discredit that. But that was a contributor into how he won the championship. So at any given moment, the race could change and momentum can go into anyone's hands.
And pit lane can also play a factor into deciding this championship tonight and the next 3 nights that we're going to see. All 4 championships this week. Per se, it won't be necessarily your pit crew, but the way you're able to get on and off pit road it's very costly in terms of time, and a lot of people overlook that. But if you're able to really get onto pit road smoothly and get off of pit road quickly, you make up a lot of time on the racetrack that could ultimately impact where you finish at the end of the race.
Absolutely, and we've seen that at a number of tracks this year. I think we saw it as recent as last week at Kansas. I forget if it was this series or the Sim Speed Shop Cup Series, but someone at Kansas pulled off for the pit lane on the backstretch, which was
that was DeLeo, I believe, last week at Kansas.
Yeah, that was.
And he ended up working out for him. So maybe that's not the best example, but you're right. It does matter, when you come down pit lane, how quickly you're able to do that. And I've noticed now, ever since Robinson's gotten to that 3rd spot, Hunter, the 31 and the 45 for that matter have pretty much drove away from him. Now 2 seconds back to 3rd place Matthew Robinson.
Gotta wonder if Robinson was using up too much of his tires, staying with the 41 and then passing him.
I will say this, James Shainwolf is putting together a pretty impressive pace right now, and we'll throw Travis Beckner in that mix as well since he's pretty much right behind him. But these last few laps for James Shainwolf, he's running, low 28s, 28.4. This time when he hits the stripe, it's going to be a 28.3, whereas if you look back to our 8th place guy, Gary Lewis, he's running 28.8s and 28.6s right now, so almost a half second quicker for our race leader, James Shainwolf, than what we're seeing 4th place Gary Lewis.
So we have 30 laps completed of our scheduled 120 tonight for the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series Championship race at Phoenix. Coverage of tonight's championship event is brought to you by Northern Capital. We would once again like to thank Russ and Steve Anderson of Northern Capital for their continuous support of the Northern Capital Truck Series, in which you can catch their championship event tomorrow night at 8:40 Eastern on the Araya Twitch channel.
Big thank you to Northern Capital. I know I won't be in the broadcast booth tomorrow night, but they will not be renewing their sponsorship contract for next season with us, but we definitely want to give them a big thank you for all their help this season. They were definitely one of the most important pillars in getting this whole thing started. So Russ, Steve Anderson, Curtis Ballmer, that whole group over there, an absolute class act, and it was an honor to work with them this season.
Yeah, we know the trucks always put on a good show regardless of what track they're at, and of course, for the championship event, it'll be nothing but exciting from the drop of the green flag.
And I'll be in it tomorrow night, so different perspective. Won't be in the broadcast booth, but I'll be behind the wheel and get to see the Final Four battle it out in person, or I should say behind the steering wheel at least. So we'll see how that all goes, and believe we're still having a little bit of connection issues there with Travis Beckner.
I was gonna say, I thought he went down pit road.
Yeah, me too.
If he keeps running 11-second lap times, he might be lapping this field.
Yeah, I think maybe our lap times might be a little off there. I would guess, but yeah, no. Beckner's still working through some connection issues. It looks like from the last few races that we've seen, but looks like it might have stabled out a little bit now.
Looking through the leader, ran a 28.506 that last time by. Looking to see anyone that's run close to his lap time. Got Vern Hawkins at a .555.
Rick Christensen, 10th quicker.
Yeah, Rick Christensen, 10th quicker in the 7th spot. I believe he's going after the truck title tomorrow night.
No, Rick Christensen, not in the playoffs in any of the 4 series, but definitely deserved to be. I will say that in the Monday night series here, he had that win, and was really looking forward to see what he could do in the playoffs. Unfortunately, wasn't able to make the minimum number of starts there in the 19. Looks like 21 of DeLeo, though. He's caught up to this whole pack of Matthew Robinson, Vern Hawkins, Eli Green.
Yeah, Robinson half a second in front of this battle for 4th now is Green looking low on Hawkins going through 3 and 4. Gonna be interesting to see them cut through the dog leg side by side.
And also what DeLeo decides to do, because he's caught these guys from a few seconds back, so he's clearly much quicker right now.
It's gonna be tight. Brian Dixon in the middle of the lap car on the outside, getting out of it. Very interesting to see. That sort of resembles Jacques Villeneuve, as he just popped up and gave us all a little scare there in the Daytona 500, but nonetheless, just like the 500. Oh, and DeLeo
Oh!
actually turning Eli Green in the middle of 3 and 4. That's going to bring out our second caution of the race. We'll have to go back and look at that one. That was absurd.
I think it was a little tight race in there. And, Eli Green had been side by side there with Vern Hawkins for a few laps, and I think that might have actually played into a factor there. And you see, this was the lap right before they ended up catching here the 33, and this is kind of where it all started, really. It was right, like you mentioned, catching Brian Dixon there going into the entry of 1.
Yeah, Brian Dixon giving us a scare, but nonetheless, they thrived on and prevailed, and you saw the 41 of Hawkins there on the outside, looking like he got around the 28 before this, or was still door to door. And here's DeLeo heading into 3. Just a bit more momentum, and just a push will do in these ARCA cars. Like the front and the rear bumper of these cars, it's so gradual with the bump, because unlike the Cup cars or the Xfinity cars, even trucks, you can give the truck or the car in front of you a bump and everything would be fine. But in these ARCA cars, you can't bump anyone, because as soon as you get to their bumper, it sort of picks their rear tires off the ground and spins them around.
And here comes the first big decision of the night, and that's if these guys wanted to come down pit road, and they all elected to do so. James Shanewolf's going to lead them down with Travis Beckner right behind him and Matthew Robinson. They all are going to be coming down pit road. I believe we're going to see a majority of the field taking 4 tires here. I'll keep you up to date if I see anything different, though, Hunter.
Nonetheless, seems like the majority of the field is using the strategy of David Weishart to their advantage, coming in and making at least one pit stop. And well, that was quick. Shane Wolf going to come off pit road with the lead. Beckner going to be second. Robinson, Vern Hawkins, Dominic DeLeo, the top 5. But I believe, if I had to guess, Dominic DeLeo would be getting an EOL for creating that caution.
Yeah, still waiting on the decision to come from race control. They confirmed that Eli Green will not be receiving the EOL, but they're still looking at the 21 there, Dominic DeLeo. And he will get the EOL, Hunter, just confirmed from race control.
So Dominic DeLeo in the battle for 5th between he and Eli Green after making contact, spinning out the 28, creating the second caution of the race, will be sent to the rear, given an EOL for creating that caution. So he's got about less than 80 laps to generate his way through the back of the field to the front, all while going for a championship in the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series.
Hey, I mean, what's a little adversity to a championship run? I think it's something Dominic DeLeo's not unfamiliar to. So if he's got to come from the back and make his way to the front, it's going to put on a show for us. That's for sure.
Real quick, we're looking at 18 cars. Nicholas Trader, believe he just wanted to join as a spectator, not as a driver, but was in our session as a driver. And as for the 9 of Ryan Swan, I believe he might have had some internet issues as to why he did not show up to the grid. He was out there and practicing. There you see on the top of the screen, Dominic DeLeo going to the rear. Looks like he'll be restarting in the 15th spot. Got Adam Capps on pit road there in 16th. So we'll see the 1 to go this time by. James Shanewolf, once again the leader, will have control of where he can restart the race from. He can choose the inside or the outside. Got Beckner, that'll restart in the opposite lane that Shanewolf chooses from, and looks like he'll keep that bottom.
Yeah, and I mean, the first 2 starts we've seen so far tonight, Hunter, the bottom is the spot to be. So if anybody really gained any advantage from this caution coming out, I would say it's Matthew Robinson, because now he gets the chance to restart on the back bumper of our race leader, James Shanewolf, once again.
And we'll see that short run speed come into effect here. So I was really shaping for this to be a potential green flag run to the end, but then that yellow came out and threw all that out the window. So we'll have to re-rack him up and let him loose. The long agonizing wait to the Geico restart zone. Shanewolf on the bottom, Beckner on the outside, and goes as soon as he gets inside that box. It's fair game, and once again, back green at Phoenix.
And just look at the jump Robinson was able to get, and the entire inside lane was able to get. Paul Irvin's going to follow suit right behind him. They're going to be side by side for second.
Yep,
Like
gonna
might
be a
have had one in the
tight
wall
battle.
out there too.
Very tight battle up here for the lead. We've got Robinson all over the bumper of Shane Wolf. He might make a dive going through the dog leg. No, he'll stay on the outside, but Beckner will make a dive underneath the 40. So they're going to be door to door for that second spot. But Shane Wolf, best thing you can see right now in his rearview mirror is those two cars battling right behind him.
And it was Rick Christensen who got into the wall there on the entry of turn 1 and 2. Contact between Eli Green and the 19 of Rick Christensen, and I believe Rick Christensen's going to pull it down on pit road and probably call it quits for the night.
Well, Shane Wolf got loose there coming out of 4, and that's allowed the 40 of Robinson to get right up to his bumper. He passed the 45 of Beckner. Beckner now in a battle for third between he and Vern Hawkins, but the battle for the lead. Oh, and Beckner sideways, trying to keep it straight, and he will. An amazing save by Travis Beckner in the 45, keeping this race green flag.
Right in front of playoff driver Gary Lewis, by the way.
Yeah, giving Gary Lewis a scare, too. As we mentioned, still green, no caution from that. And right up here is the battle for the win, but the battle for the championship as well.
Yeah, Matthew Robinson now, for the first time all night, has got a fair shot at James Shanewell for the lead, and I'm curious to see if he decides to make a move or if he just wants to try to push Shanewell to use up his stuff and make Robinson better on the long run. DeLeo, by the way, up to 11th after having to restart 15th in the back.
The next car in front of him is Nicholas Halda, the Daytona winner.
Shane Wolf has just been very smooth and consistent all night. Not a lot of mistakes, not a lot of bobbles. He's been pretty much perfecting his line all week long and hitting his marks every single lap so far tonight. And he's been out front every single lap so far tonight.
Yeah, really hasn't had any dirty air other than going around lapping the cars in front of him. But other than that, it's just been clean, smooth sailing for that number 31.
The lights are starting to shine off of these race cars. We got the sun completely set now for the first time in the night. The lights are the only thing providing any kind of light to this racetrack, and you see it reflecting off of the 31, and his splitter there on the front end looks pretty cool. And shout out to Harold on having the beefy PC to be able to run these high graphics.
So one thing, I think we can look at the track temp right now and see how much of a difference that is. I actually don't think we got to the pre-race. There we go. Weather from LottieStrapworld.com. Right now, track temp 72 degrees with air temp at 70, 33% humidity. Winds from the east at 3 miles an hour. Sky is partly cloudy, but the sun is completely set. But a very cool track temp at 72 degrees.
We might even see that.
Guys.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's super cool, and we might even see it drop even more than that 72 track temp that we're looking at. So that's going to play into the hands of a lot of these drivers, provide them a little bit of extra grip out there with a lower track temp and maybe even some more exciting racing. But right now, it doesn't get much better than this. Championship on the line, and these guys are bumper to bumper for the first spot.
Yeah, Robinson's still within 3 car lengths of race leader James Shanewell, both of which battling for that inaugural championship for the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series in the area. Gary Lewis, the other championship driver, is 5th, and Dominic DeLeo has entered the top 10, passing Nicholas Halda.
Yeah, DeLeo's got a lot of traffic he's got to work through, and he's already got through some of it. And like you mentioned, the back half of the field got back up inside the top 10 for number 21, but the next one he's got his eyes set on are the 22 of Sean Corcoran and then the 45 of Travis Beckner, and we saw how quick Beckner was on the first run of this race.
I think we saw Gary Lewis might have gone into the wall coming out of turn 2 because he just got passed by Eli Green. I know he was very close to that wall.
You see DeLeo popping up. Oh, looks like Bobby Tench might have got the wall there that time coming out of turn 2, I should say.
Still hard for some to get used to the new layout of Phoenix Raceway.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely one of them. I can't tell you what corner we're in. I'm used to the old style and saying this is this turn, this is that turn. But I do got to give a lot of credit to iRacing here in Phoenix because this track does look very, very cool. I love the cactus flag stand that we got with the LEDs around it. That's pretty cool as well. And just looks really, really nice out there. Perfect shot of it right on cue. Yeah, that's neat. That's very neat.
And of course, the cactus changes color whenever there's a yellow or a red flag scenario. But it's not just the new layout that some people are still getting used to. It's oddly enough the name, because for I think a year and a half it was ISM Raceway, and it kind of left a sour taste in some fans' mouths. Like, nah, I won't call it ISM, and I think I was one of them. I will always call this Phoenix, just like some might call Charlotte
Oh.
Rose Motor Speedway.
And we have the battle tightening up even more. That time, though, Shane Wolf was sliding up in front of Matthew Robinson after using the dog lane. Robinson, like you mentioned earlier, Hunter, did not elect to cut the dog leg nearly as much as James Shane Wolf did, and it's led to these guys being nose to bumper with Matthew Robinson looking to get around the 31.
Going to be real interesting here on the bumper cam of the Matthew Robinson machine as they work their way out of the dog lane and into 1 and 2.
Not to mention, Hunter, these guys came down under that last caution, but they're still going to have to pit one more time for fuel in these race cars. They are not good to the end. Right on board now with the 31 of James Shane Wolf, and look how close Matthew Robinson is.
Very close to that bumper. Now, we might not see much of a bump and run. We might see of a dump and run, like we saw earlier with Dominic DeLeo and Eli Green.
Just hard. I think right now the thing we've got to be noticing is how similar this looks to what Travis Beckner was doing the first run of the race. He was right on James Shane Wolf's bumper, much like this, but he wasn't able to make a move and get around him. And maybe that's a product of this racetrack and the reconfiguration making it very hard for these drivers to pass. But I bet you if this was the last lap, I think they'd take about any means necessary to try to make a move for the race lead and make a move for this championship.
So we're riding aboard the drone cam. Now focusing on the battle for lead going through 3 and 4 and once again down the front stretch. But you mentioned Travis Beckner. He's worked his way all the way up to 6th after nearly losing it coming out of turn 2 very early on that initial run. And just how low the 40 of Robinson was that time by.
Yeah, completely opposite of what he's been doing. We saw Shane Wolf was the one reaching way low in the dog leg, and Robinson was about a lane and a half higher that time around. Completely different story. I think Robinson even went as low to hit the pit exit cone down there and knock it over. But also, Shane Wolf was able to grow the gap a little bit when that happened, so maybe not the move there for the 40.
Could be some of that impatience that we're starting to see because you're just right there. Can't really quite get around the 31, as we mentioned throughout the year. Catching him is one thing, passing him is another. And looked like the 40 tried a different strategy to maybe see if he can make up some ground and just didn't quite work out. So we're now past halfway in tonight's Swift Lifestyle Pro Series Championship race, which is brought to you by Swift Lifestyles. Fans, be sure to visit our sponsor, Swift Lifestyles, for clean supplements that help improve your focus and gaming. Use the discount code on your screen, AREA iRacing, AREA iRacing, for 15% off your entire order. We would once again like to give a big thanks to Swift Lifestyles for their support all year long of the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series as we crown the champion in the desert. And very early on, it looks like it's going to be James Shane Wolf. He's led every single lap. Very impressive from the number 31, but he's got tough company behind him with Matthew Robinson, kind of the fastest we've seen the 40 car all night long. He was in a battle there with Vern Hawkins for the longest, and after the caution came out with involving Eli Green and Dominic DeLeo, we've seen that 40 car get up to the bumper of Shane Wolf, but we have yet to see him pass. But still have over 55 laps to go here at Phoenix, so anything can happen.
Yeah, then you got third place, Vern Hawkins. We've seen him a few times this season in the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series. Back here at Phoenix to end things here in the first season. And that 41, he's been inside the top 5 all race long. Not quite able to get up to the race leaders and have winning speed, but he's definitely going to be in the mix before this thing's over. And then right behind him, you got Eli Green there in the number 28. This guy was just turned around about 20 laps ago, but he's able to rebound and stay up inside this top 5. Obviously, the spin, no damage on that race car. He's still good to go to the rest of this thing, and we'll have to see if he's able to get up there and contend for this win.
Driver who was up there contending for that win very early on, although almost seemed like a safety blanket for James Shinwolf, is Travis Beckner. Beckner has been running inside the top 5 for a good bit of the night until he nearly spun it coming out of turn 2. But nonetheless, he's rebounded, working his way all the way up from 11th to inside the top 5 now. Passing the 4 car of Paul Irvin. Was about to call him Swervin' Irvin because he qualified all the way back in, I believe, 14th or 15th. It was very deep in the field. And he's worked his way inside the top 5, but it seems like the longer run just not working right for that number 4. But nonetheless, he's made a big jump since the drop of the green flag.
And Gary Lewis, one of the drivers that was in this championship for in 7th place, almost got collected with Travis Beckner when you mentioned him having to save that car coming out of turn 2. Well, it was right in front of Gary Lewis. Almost a catastrophe there for the 69, but he's able to rebound. Got a long way to go if he wants to win this championship. A lot of ground to make up, but right now he's running P7, and right behind him, Sean Corcoran, the number 22 for Samson Motorsports. He's had a pretty solid season so far. He's looking to add to an impressive resume with another top 10 here tonight.
Right behind him, looking for another solid run to end out the season is Forrest Smith. One Mind to Design now, Transcendent Motorsports, as he, along with Gary Lewis, have been a big part as to why their team is basically, not guaranteed the team championship, but why they're up there. They started a full race behind, but their consistency all year long has paid off at the very end. And Forrest Smith looking to capitalize this last race here with a solid run. And then in the 10th spot, the Daytona winner, Nicholas Halda. Haven't had much to say about him. He's kind of running that same spot throughout the night, but looking to end the season on a strong run and looking for that momentum going into next year. That is your halfway rundown presented by Swift Lifestyles.
Want to touch on something really quick. 4 laps ago, Championship 4 driver Dominic DeLeo, the number 21, came down pit road, Hunter, and he came down, he got his 4 tires, he got his fuel, he is good to go for the rest of this race. He came down super early to make that pit stop, trying to do something a little different to get back in this championship hunt.
Very well, could be. It could work out in his favor. We saw that with Ed Robertson in the Cup Series last week, and he needed that. He needed that to win the race in order to move on to the championship 4. So, could we see the same work out for Dominic DeLeo?
I'll tell you what, man, I'm nervous that all the time he's gaining right now, obviously his lap time's going to be significantly faster than these guys that are currently on track. But just when these guys decide to pit and come down for the final time, it can completely swap for Dominic DeLeo. Then they're going to be the guys with faster times, with fresher tires, and they're going to eat him up in a hurry. So it's definitely a gamble for Dominic DeLeo, but I know DeLeo likes to take some chances, likes to gamble a little bit. So we'll see how this strategy ends out for him and his championship hopes.
Yeah, we'll see if Shane Wolf, who also likes to gamble, will switch something up. I can't see that unless something drastic happens, because he is literally the fastest car on the racetrack. I mean, other than Dominic DeLeo, who came down for tires, but he has been the car to beat all night, and no one has been able to do that.
Well, that caution came out on lap number 40, so a lot of these guys came down and got service around lap number 40, lap 41, and that kind of sets them up for an 80-lap run to the finish. So I would anticipate a lot of these guys coming in with 40 laps to go just to try to cut it down the middle, and that could be about 15 laps from now. We'll see pit road really starting to get busy.
I'll say, what is the latest that we could see these guys come down pit road if they try to stretch it on fuel as long as they can?
Well, we know that they can go close to 60 laps, so if that is the case, they came down on lap 42, we could see them go up to lap 105 potentially, but that's also a big gamble because you'd be giving up so much time on those older tires. I would anticipate most of the field comes in between lap 75, maybe lap 85 or so.
Nonetheless, something to keep an eye on as this race progresses through, but Shane Wolf once again continuing to lead every single lap. He's opened the gap up to almost a second from fellow Championship 4 driver Matthew Robinson, and now the highest of those not in the playoffs is Eli Green. Very impressive from him as he spun out a good while ago to create that second caution, not of his own doing. And then the driver behind him, an impressive recovery as well from Travis Beckner, who's up to 4th after nearly losing it coming out turn 2, was outside the top 10. Now he's back inside the top 5.
And if you look a little bit further back in this pack also, Dominic DeLeo, he is right up here in this mix, which is kind of worrisome because he's got all this lap traffic he's going to have to deal with that's technically lead lap cars, but he just happens to be a lot quicker than them right now. That is also going to hurt his pace on this long run here, so he's going to have to be mindful of that and trying to pick his way through as smoothly as possible.
Now, when drivers make that sharp left turn down the dog leg, using it as a shortcut, is that taken away from the tires as well?
Oh, we got a caution.
Forget everything I just said. We have a caution on the racetrack. Oh, down the backstretch. Gary Lewis into the wall.
Looks like the wreck was continuing there. I think it might have started with Rick Ward. And I think Gary Lewis might have gotten involved as well here. Let's see exactly what happened.
Yeah, at the very end of that, as we were going to the replay, Gary Lewis spun right into the wall, and there we see Rick Ward in the number 34. Well, looking like he pulled an Adam Capps. Oh, but he hit the inside wall and back onto the racetrack. So he was just stopped there, and as he was moving out, we saw the 69 of Gary Lewis just lose it.
Oh,
and collecting, I think that's teammate Forrest Smith.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was Lewis there just trying to check up or what exactly caused him to get so loose coming into that picture there, but definitely went around, got a little bit of damage there on that race car. You mentioned the contact with teammate Forrest Smith. Taking a look at the 69, he doesn't look like he's too awfully bad. I think he'll be okay and able to continue, but we got pit stops now for all of our leaders. James Shanewolf's leading them down on pit road, and there's the 69 of Gary Lewis.
Boy, this has to be a massive blow to the gut for Dominic DeLeo.
Well, it's not the end of the world. He is going to get the free pass there. He was the first car, one lap down. The only problem with getting the free pass is it also comes with an end-of-line penalty, so he'll have to start at the tail end of the field once again.
Now, these guys do have...
Is he actually going to get the EOL, or was because all the leaders came down, did he get onto the lead lap?
Yeah, he got back onto the lead lap, but it's still going to make him restart behind all those lead lap drivers, even though they came down pit road. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Dominic DeLeo also come down here.
I'll say these guys still have 3 sets of tires, and DeLeo, I think he's only used his second. Oh, we got someone that's joined the broadcast booth.
Yeah, Eric Wineland, admin here tonight, helping out with Brad Slaughter, series director for this series, but Wineland's got the call there on what exactly we saw under that last caution.
Race control is going to issue a disqualification, 34 car, failing to hold the brake after being involved in an incident and bringing the caution out. 34,
okay.
On for the night.
So the 34, Hunter, there you have it. Eric Wineland coming in with the call is going to be done for the night. So no more Rick Ward in our season finale.
Tough way to end the season there for Rick Ward. Very unfortunate to see that happen. Looks like, once again, it looked like he just pulled an Adam Capps where he got loose there through turn 2 and then just hit the inside wall, but then went back onto the racetrack. Oh, I think the Eric Wineland's back.
End of line, 45, speeding, too fast entering.
Yeah, so Travis Beckner also there with a penalty. Under that pit stop, he's going to go to the back of this field, as well as Dominic DeLeo for getting the free pass. He'll also be going to the back of this field. So a lot of quick cars now at the end of this line here, Hunter.
Yeah, one of those being Dominic DeLeo, and of course the other being Travis Beckner. Looks like they're going to restart 11th and 12th, but they are at the end of the line of cars, as we mentioned, and we see now James Shane Wolf going to lead the field to the green flag, and once again, looks like he's going to choose that bottom groove.
I think this is the first time all night we've seen the 40 and the 31 on the same row here, Hunter.
Yep, they are both on the same row. Shane Wolf to the inside, Robinson to the outside. Then behind him, Eli Green and Paul Irvin, 3rd and 4th. Vern Hawkins, Sean Corcoran, 5th and 6th. And then the one-mind design guys, 7th and 8th, Gary Lewis and Forrest Smith. And then Nicholas Alda and Mark Patterson rounding out that top 10 as they approach the Geico restart zone. Shane Wolf is the control car. He can go anywhere he wants inside the box, and here we go. Once again, back green in Phoenix.
Oh, man, they're getting racy. Eli Green staying there with Matthew Robinson for P2 as they enter turn 1 and 2. Side by side for second, almost side by side for the lead.
Eli Green loose through turn 2. He's going to spin into the inside wall. And a caution is come out once again. Well, saw that coming from a mile away, and we'll see it once again from high in the sky with our one-to-go replay. It was a very dicey move there by the 28 of Eli Green, not only putting himself at risk, but Shane Wolf and Robinson, because either one of those guys could have been taken out in this move.
Yeah, and he was trying to use every inch of the racetrack possible. He's going to go below the yellow line there, and just as soon as he touches it, gets a little sideways, saves it, and overcorrects it, actually, but locks it down so nobody else gets involved there. It does bring out another caution, Hunter. But one thing I will say is if we go back up now live to Dominic DeLeo, this could be a big break for him. I would expect to see him come down pit road now and take that set of tires and try to gain a little bit of an advantage over these leaders. Because right now he's still on the oldest tires out of all these drivers on the lead lap.
Yeah, and he would restart. I don't think he would restart behind the lap cars either if he came down pit road.
No, he would come down and be able to restart still in about that 11th spot, depending on who else decides to come down pit road, and it could be a big opportunity for him, but I don't think he actually elected to do so I think he's going to stay out on track maybe and try to hope for another caution to come out later in this run. He only has one set of tires left in the pits as well there for the 21.
Another thing to keep in mind, coverage of tonight's Area iRacing's championship week, the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series taking on the Jewel in the Desert and Phoenix Raceway. Coverage of tonight's race brought to you by Sim Speed Shop. We would like to thank Sim Speed Shop for their support all year long in the Sim Speed Shop Cup Series this season in area. And racers can visit their website at www.simspeedshop.com to find multiple items to complete their virtual racing steps, such as button boxes, wheels, racing gear, and much, much more. That is www.simspeedshop.com. You can catch the final broadcast of the season for Area iRacing, as the Sim Speed Shop Cup Series will be the last of the 4 series to take on Phoenix and crown their champion, with coverage kicking off at 8:40 Eastern on the Ride Twitch channel.
Well, Hunter, we haven't mentioned it, so let's mention it. The tensions are starting to get a little bit higher out here. We're down now to the last 36 laps of this race. James Shane Wolf has been absolutely dominant. And you would think he'd feel pretty comfortable right now with the speed he's had, but he's going to get to look to his right on this restart and see championship competitor Matthew Robinson starting right beside him. Gary Lewis had a little bit of bad luck. We saw him get involved in that incident with Rick Ward. He's going to be back there in 7th. And then Dominic DeLeo trying to do something to get back up in this mix. He's going to restart outside the top 10, but the tension's definitely high right now to get this championship.
Absolutely. And if I were DeLeo, I probably would have pitted also, because he's got the oldest tires compared to everyone else in front of him.
Yeah, I do agree with that, Hunter. I think right now what DeLeo is thinking, though, is that, with 36 laps to go, everybody else has a set of tires left, including him. If he puts his last set on now and we get a caution in about 15, 20 laps, everybody's going to come down and put their last set on, and then he's at a disadvantage again. So I think right now he's trying to just wait till the playing field can get a little bit more level and take that last set if there is another caution before this thing's over.
As Larry McReynolds once said, cautions breed cautions, and we're seeing that here tonight. And think DeLeo's seeing that as well, and that could be a reason why he has not come down and taken his final set of good years. So the pace truck will pull into pit road. And these guys will have to take the long-awaited drive down to the Geico restart zone to restart this race once again. Does not get any easier.
Yeah. And
Especially
imagine
if you're up front.
Man, imagine if we get a green-white checkered in this drive, just how intense it would be to get to this restart zone.
Shane Wolf's done a good job all night long. This time restarting a little bit later in that restart zone. But we're green once more at Phoenix.
Yeah, it's the first time tonight we've really seen Shane Wolf, the second-place driver, and the third-place driver all be clear by the time they enter turn one, single file.
Yeah, we've seen 2 wide, even 3 wide racing here in Phoenix, and got bumper-to-bumper traffic going through 3 and 4.
Oh, Robinson a little squirrely there. Tried to put the power down on the exit of turn 4 to maybe make a run at this lead. And it wasn't quite able to stick for him. He gave up a little bit of time there to James Shane Wolf. He's going to stretch back out by about 2 car lengths.
Meanwhile, battle for 4th going on between Paul Irvin on the outside, Sean Corcoran. So they're going into turn 3 now, and looks like Nicholas Halder there with a big stint just behind Forrest Smith, and now Gary Lewis looking to take advantage of that. And then behind those two, Eli Green and Travis Beckner battling for 9th. So we got battles going on all over the racetrack behind their front 4.
James Shane Wolf just ran the fastest lap of the race, and you would think that's a good thing. But right now, if I'm the crew chief for the 31, I think that's a bad thing. I think he's pushing too hard with so many laps left. I don't want him to burn his stuff up too quickly trying to run away from Matthew Robinson. We still got a long way to go here.
Boy, it is very tight racing back here. We're going to have a 3-car battle for that 7th spot.
Oh, 3
Nicholas
wide
Halder,
battle.
He's going to make it 3 wide going into turn 1. Thought better of it. Looking to cross over the 45 here on corner exit. Oh, and Eli Green right behind, getting in the mix. Got to be careful there. Got to be real careful if you're Dominic DeLeo, too. Seeing all this go on in front of you.
And DeLeo really, with the old tires that he's got right now, he doesn't really have a chance of getting up there and contending for the lead at this point. So really probably better to be safe than sorry for somebody like Dominic DeLeo. But with the championship on the line, that's a lot easier said than done. Look at the run there by Eli Green in the 28 to muscle around the outside.
Now he's going to use that momentum push on the outside to get Gary Lewis. Actually, that's...
Oh, 3 wide again.
Gary Lewis.
Man, they're putting Gary Lewis in a tough spot right now, being one of those championship drivers.
Oh, very close there. Very, very close. Now we see the 21 slowly start to creep in. Eli Green, Nicholas Halder nearly getting loose, making contact there off turn 2. Now we see the 21 of Dominic DeLeo looking underneath the 69 of Gary Lewis.
And still no change out front, by the way. Shane Wolf continuing to pull away from Matthew Robinson. So this is really the big battle on the racetrack, and it involves 2 of our 4 championship drivers.
Oh, Eli Green looking really high there through turn 2. Boy, I don't know how we didn't clip the wall there. Now we've seen these guys be able to take it 3 wide. Could we see a potential 4 wide move if Dominic DeLeo would dare?
Well, there's definitely enough space for it. I don't know if it's a good idea, though, for somebody like Dominic DeLeo or Gary Lewis. But both these drivers trying to compete, hey, that 3rd spot is pretty important in this championship standings, too, and that's up for grabs between those 2 drivers.
Oh, Gary Lewis looked like he sent it in there on the 28. Very close once again to making contact, but nonetheless, it looks like these guys have cooled down their battles for the moment. Robinson still 6 car lengths back from race leader James Shane Wolf.
Does look like this battle's starting to settle out, and those tires for Dominic DeLeo just aren't proven to be enough for him at the moment. Now he's starting to fall off the back bumper of Gary Lewis. Back out front, like you mentioned, James Shane Wolf with a 6.5 tenth advantage over second place Matthew Robinson. You got third place Vern Hawkins and Sean Corcoran and Paul Urban rounding out our top 5. You see the battle that we've been following here for 8th between Nick Holda, Eli Green, Gary Lewis right now. Starting to settle out a little bit. That 87's taking control over this battle. Rounding out our top 10 is Gary Lewis, and then just outside there in 11th place, Dominic DeLeo, the final of our 4 championship drivers.
Meanwhile, it looks like the battle heating up between Forrest Smith and Beckner as they were going at the last couple of laps. So they're approaching the bumper of Paul Irvin, and we might have another 3-car battle for position in just a short moment. Boy, these guys, they're looking close to just hitting the bumper every time they go.
Yes, they are. And we've seen it too already a few times. Most of these cautions that have been brought out have just been exactly what you're saying. Somebody getting in a little too hot into the corner. This time they both get really hot into the corner. Slide way up the racetrack, does Forrest Smith and Travis Beckner. And they're going to be side by side now off of turn 2 heading down the backstretch.
Shaping to be a good run for Beckner going into 3 with the bottom. Forrest Smith on the outside, looking to generate a run to stay within reach. That 6th position, and now they'll go through the dog leg.
Matthew Robinson's starting to creep back in the picture for the race lead. He's cut 2/10 off of it from James Shane Wolf. That has the 40 of Robinson now as they come to the stripe. Oh, he's
He might
pushing
have
it.
lost everything. Oh, Paul Irvin. Paul Irvin loose there. It looked like he saved it. Boy, in the very back, Paul Irvin really getting the nickname Swerving Irvin, swerving to keep that car from not hitting the inside wall.
Well, we mentioned Robinson that he was starting to gain. I think we saw why. I think he's pushing it for everything he's got left in that number 40 car. When they do hit the start-finish line this time, Hunter, there's going to be 20 laps to go in the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series season.
Absolutely, and you got to push at a time like this. The season on the line, championship there, everything you worked for, just leading up to this moment with 20 to go. It could be make it or break it for Matthew Robinson.
Yeah, and this is something that started all the way back in October of 2021. That was our first week when we went down for race 1 at Daytona. 17 races later, I think over 20 weeks later, it all came down to Phoenix. And make it to the Final Four was an accomplishment in and of itself. But now with a chance to win the championship, you can't leave anything on the table.
Still within 4 car lengths of race leader James Shane Wolf. I think he's led every lap tonight.
He has, and Robinson is now as close as he's been on a long run all night long, just under 0.4 of a second separating our top 2 in the championship.
So that's the thing that's been really holding Matthew Robinson back. He's had the short run speed, but he doesn't have the long run speed to back it up. And this, as you mentioned, close as he's been all night long in the long run.
Well, the thing, like I said, that made me the most nervous was when I saw the 31 of James Shane Wolf run the fastest lap of the race. On this run, at the beginning of the run, I was worried that he was going to start pushing too hard too soon. With so many laps left, you knew it was going to be a long green flag run to the finish like this. You just got to hope that he's got enough tires left to try to fend off Matthew Robinson here. Now this time they hit the stripe, 17 laps to go.
Boy, Shane Wolf trying to do whatever he can to stretch the gap, and then Robinson trying to do whatever he can to close it. Gap now half a second between the two.
And you know the tensions are high. I talked to James a lot this week. You know, he practiced. He was taking this very serious. He knows how important it is to win a championship and how infrequent these opportunities come about. But he also mentioned that him and Matthew Robinson, you know, they raced together for a long, long time, Hunter. We've even saw it in the late model series a year ago between these two. It was the exact same situation. They were battling for a championship. And here we come in the first season of the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series. And we have a championship for, but right now the top 2, the best friends of James Shane Wolf and Matthew Robinson, 15 laps to go. I don't think there's going to be any love lost between those two. I think they'll race just about as hard as they would race with anybody else.
Boy, Robinson lost big time there through turn 1. But then again, we did see the 31 Shane Wolf make a sharp dive down the front stretch.
Also have a battle for third in the championship. Gary Lewis and Dominic DeLeo are still going at it from what we saw in that pack earlier in the race. Right now, DeLeo's going to look underneath the 69 now here, Hunter.
Yep, battle for third in the championship standings between these two. And DeLeo couldn't quite come up in front of Gary Lewis, though he's cleared him now for the spot at the moment. So P9 for the race would go to Dominic DeLeo, and that'll drop Gary Lewis down to 10th, but in the championship standings, it would be third and fourth.
And also, that lead now has grown even more. A second advantage now from James Shanewolf back to Matthew Robinson.
Yeah, Shanewolf really starting to use that advantage of cutting down on the dog leg, as he's increased the gap by over half a second.
We saw Robinson a few times kick that car sideways coming out of turn 4 and turn 2 for that matter especially. And, you got to think, did those tires, just squeal a little bit too much? Did he use a little bit too much of the tires too soon to where they're pretty much shot now and he doesn't have the grip he needs to go up there and challenge for the title, because he is continuing now to drop pace to James Shanewolf. Still a second margin between the top two.
We move back throughout the field. Battle for sixth. Paul Irvin holding on to that spot. Eli Green just behind. But the gap now 1.1 seconds between Shanewolf and Robinson. Next time by, it will be 10 laps to go in Phoenix.
See Travis Beckner in the 45 having a heck of a run tonight inside the top 5. We saw him running second for the first half of this race. He was looking extremely quick. That speed has not gone anywhere from that number 45. He is still right in this mix, and he's actually tracking down Vern Hawkins, it looks like, for third.
Yep, looking to be the highest finishing driver, not contending for a championship.
DeLeo has started to slightly grow that margin between him and Gary Lewis as well back there. So that battle seems to be pretty much under control. The battle up front also seems to be pretty much under control for the most part. Still no advantage gained from Matthew Robinson. James Shanewolf continuing to extend his margin.
Yeah, it looks like this thing might be all said and done, although there's still the possibility of a late race caution, and we could see that short run kick in for Matthew Robinson.
And if you look at James Shanewolf right now, you got to think one of the advantages for him, Robinson, and pretty much everybody inside this top 10 is they all still have a set of tires in the bank sitting there on pit road. So even in the unfortunate circumstance of a late race yellow flag, we know for the most part, everybody's got that fresh set of tires down there on pit road, and it can still be a heads-up race from there. It's not going to be about tire management and who has a set left, who doesn't. It's going to be pretty much heads up from here no matter what happens.
If we do get a late race yellow, could we see the 21 and the 69 stay out?
I wouldn't rule out anything if we see a late race yellow, but I would also say that it's going to be important to have fresh tires there at the end. And I mean, we're working now 40, 50 laps, some of these guys on their set of tires. I wouldn't risk it, but a championship's on the line, and we've seen some pretty crazy things when that happens.
We'll see people do whatever they can to win a race. Imagine the championship on the line. They'll do anything times 10 for that.
Yeah, no, for sure. So who knows? Hopefully, maybe we don't have to see that, but it would certainly be entertaining one way or the other. And definitely an impressive performance here from James Shanewolf. Like you mentioned, I think he's led every single lap here so far tonight. Started on pole. Was very, very confident. I don't think he gave himself enough credit. Like I said, I talked to him quite a bit going into this race, and he was my pick, but, I don't think he was giving himself enough credit about just how fast he would be tonight.
Yep, the laps are slowly dwindling as we're going to see 5 more laps in the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series season. Shanewolf leading the way with a 1.4 second gap between he and fellow Championship 4 driver Matthew Robinson, with the other two, Dominic DeLeo and Gary Lewis, back in 9th and 10th.
Beckner did move up into that third spot. There you see back is the 21. The orange car there is Dominic DeLeo. Just in front of him is this battle between Forrest Smith and the 4 of Paul Irvin. Looks like Paul Irvin's going to take that spot away. Dominic DeLeo, though, closing in Right now, Hunter mentioned it. He's running third on track, and Gary Lewis is ninth on track, third in the points championship. Gary Lewis 10th on track, fourth in the points championship. And right now, it doesn't look like much can change for them unless we see some chaos here happen in these next 3 laps.
Yeah, and as soon as they cross the stripe to take the white flag, the race is official. A yellow cannot come out, and that will basically be the end of it.
Yeah, and we've got no lap traffic, I don't believe, either, for the 31 of James Shanewolf. See Adam Capps, 1 lap down, Brian Dixon and Jeremy Horn a few laps down as well, but clean racetrack out in front of him. A 1.5 advantage back to Matthew Robinson there in second place. 2 laps to go here now at Phoenix, and 2 laps left in the entire season.
I mean, we saw how fast the 31 has been since the playoffs, and he almost made it 3 in a row at Michigan, but got moved out of the way by Dominic DeLeo in order to give DeLeo himself a shot at this championship. But other than that, it's been the 31 that's been the driver to beat, and don't think anyone's been able to beat him all night at Phoenix as he comes off turn 4. One more time around Phoenix, white flag in the air, 1 to go, presents 1 to go.
And James Shanewolf, he's won 2 out of the 4 playoff races this season. He's won 3 out of the last 8 races this season, and he's looking for the most important one here tonight at Phoenix. For the last time, Hunter, bring us home.
Well, James Shanewolf going to come through 3 and 4 for the final time, and he will be the first driver to win a championship in any 4 area leagues. He comes off the corner, takes the checkered flag. Your inaugural Swift Lifestyle Pro Series champion, James Shanewolf.
And the 31 of James Shanewolf is officially done it. He is already doing some burnouts down the back straightaway and going into turn 1 and 2 down there. I should say the front straightaway, but he's coming back around the racetrack here, and he's going to get a chance to celebrate his championship in style here. And it looks like Eli Green's actually going to take away that opportunity, perhaps. But James Shanewolf is going to be able to call himself a champion here, Hunter.
Yeah, but as we mentioned, the first driver ever in area iRacing to win a championship, and he's going to have a crowd on the front stretch doing so, and it looks like Travis Beckner might do some burnouts as well. As we mentioned, Beckner was kind of taken under the wing from James Shanewolf and has really taught him everything he's needed to know about iRacing and really progressed him as a racer. So Beckner looking to do burnouts as well with the champion in the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series. And Adam Capps.
Yeah, that's team owner there, Adam Capps, number 55. But most importantly, if you look a little, well, not most importantly, second important, if you look back, you got the 84 and the 69 back there. Those are a team championship. One Mind to Design, Gary Lewis and Forrest Smith. Those guys were able to accumulate the most amount of team points in the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series. And the teammates there of One Mind, they're going to send the formerly named team out on top. Transcendent Motorsports has come into the series next season. Those 2 are our team champions. And there you see the 31 coming by, our Season 1 champion there, James Shanewolf, as he's taking his victory lap as well.
Really cool to see all that take place here under the lights at Phoenix. Can't wait to see what the next 3 nights have in store for us.
And we will get a chance now to talk to our race winner, James Shanewolf, in the number 31, as he's still doing his victory lap. James Shanewolf, we got you up here. First off, congrats on the win here tonight at Phoenix. Way to go, man. You got it done.
Oh, dude. I don't even know what to say, man. Like I said, I wasn't even planning on running this series this season, man. So to come in here late and be able to take the chip, man, it's a really good feeling.
Well, I want to hand it over to Brad Slaughter to officially hand over the title to you. But series director here, Brad Slaughter, for the Pro Series. Go ahead, take it away, and I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jacob, man. It was a blast being the race director for this series, for this ARCA series, man. The Swift Pro Lifestyle Series was it was a lot of fun this season, man. We had a great time, and I was honored to be the editor of this series. And just gotta say, Mr. James Shane Wolf, congratulations, man. You're our champion. You're the champion of the series. So congratulations, man. That was a hell of a season. You and closed it off with a win. You can't do it any better than that, man. So congratulations, buddy. That's I'm glad to see you get one, man. You earned it.
Appreciate it, man. Been a long time coming in these cars, dude.
Well, James, you did it in pretty much perfect style. You qualified on the pole. You led every dang lap you could lead tonight. And you got to do it against your buddy there, Matthew Robinson there. And he was putting some pressure there on the end. Talk us through those last 20 laps and what was going through your head.
Don't mess up. Nah, I thought I burnt my stuff up. I had Ed Robertson spotting for me tonight, and that man knows how to keep me calm, cool, and collective. Hasn't been here all year. He's had other stuff going on, but he jumped in tonight and really helped me out. Told me to push hard at the beginning, that it was a short run, that I had the long run speed even with driving hard, and I was worried that I used my stuff up a little too much. And then Matt said that he had slid his tires a little bit in one, and his car was junk after that. So we were able to keep all four under ours and just hit our marks and be consistent and pull away a little bit and steal this one.
I'll hand it over to you, Hunter, for any questions you got for season 1 champion here, James Shane Wolf.
All I gotta ask is what's in store for next year, because we're working on next season from all of us here in Area iRacing, and gotta ask, what does this championship mean going into the next season?
It means a ton, man. I will not be returning into the ARCA series next season, so this was a one and done deal. I'm actually going to be driving in the Cup series for Elite Entertainment Gaming for Adam Caps. So to carry the momentum of a championship into that team, being a pretty new team and already having one under our belt, is a really big deal. The momentum surrounding that for not only me but my teammates for next season, I mean, it's a big deal to be a brand new team and to be able to do this in their very first season. I mean, like I said, we started late. I think I have 2 less starts than everybody else in the field, so on the season. And so does the team. The team started late too, so to be able to come in here and do this, and it's awesome, man.
Well, James, I know you got a lot of sponsors that helped you get it done all season long, and we see the paint scheme tonight. I touched on it pre-race. Beautifully wrapped car. It looks great out there, but who helped you get it done week in and week out and led you to this championship?
First and foremost, Adam Caps, Elite Entertainment, and CNC Logging. Without that, man, I honestly would not be racing. I had some bad luck before the season started. Sorry about the cat in the background. Had some bad luck before the season started. Ended up breaking a wheel. Matthew Robinson actually loaned me one of his spare wheels to start the season on, and Adam was nice enough to buy me a wheelbase to run the remainder of the season on. So without him, I literally wouldn't even be running in the series. Shout out to Drew Trader, Transcendent Designs, all those guys for sticking with me. Drew painted my very first paint scheme for my very first league race and has been right by my side through it all, so big shout out to him. Everybody in the Elite racing chat, Audible racing chat, those guys, Travis, he could have earned me real hard at the beginning of this race. He was a tick faster, but I'm grateful that he understood what was going on and was content with just riding for a little bit. Shout out to Jacob, Brad, everybody that puts this show on, you guys up here in the booth. Awesome broadcast by One to Go. It's been a hell of a season, man. Big thank you to Swift Lifestyles for sponsoring it. One thing they can't take away from me is the inaugural part.
Yes, sir.
One winner. So, I may not defend my championship next season, but I'll always be the inaugural. So that's a pretty cool thing to write in the book.
Absolutely, James. Well, man, congratulations on the win. Definitely soaked this one in. We're officially now hitting the off season, and you get to call yourself a champion of our Swift Lifestyle Pro Series. Awesome job, man, and congratulations.
Yeah, man, I'm going to go drink a damn beer.
Well, we appreciate it. And there you have your champion, James Shanewolf. Also want to give a shout out to you, Brad. You've been an awesome race director, series director, whatever you want to call it, all season long. Definitely this show would not have been possible without you. So I want to give you a little credit on the broadcast here out in public, but definitely means a ton for you to be out here every week.
Oh, and I love being here, man. This series has honestly been a lot of fun, man. We've had some crazy finishes, some really good races. I mean, even tonight it was pretty stressful there with Robinson. He kept it pretty close there all the way to the very last lap. So this series is a lot of fun, man. I just appreciate you being here, man, being supportive of all your admins like you are. And I just want to say thanks to all of our sponsors, everybody up here that's putting on this broadcast, man. I can't thank everybody enough, man. It's just a really fun season. And I can't wait to see what's next, man. I know we got some big things coming for this thing, and I ain't gonna spill any beans, but y'all just tune in. It's gonna be a good next season. I'm telling you that now.
Thank you, Brad, man. Appreciate it. And I want to say good run out there tonight, but you were freaking in the admin tower. But no, seriously, Brad, awesome season. You've been a joy to work with, and I'm very, very lucky. We're all lucky to have you up here.
Thank you, buddy. I'll see you boys tomorrow night.
Absolutely. And we all will get to see Brad Slaughter tomorrow night, Hunter. He's going to be running for a championship in the Northern Capital Truck Series, but I think you caught up with the next guy, Hunter. It probably won't be as fun of an interview, but we got Matthew Robinson up here, and I think you were able to catch up with him down here on pit road.
Yeah, I had to sprint from the booth once again and actually climb over the fence. The door didn't work, so I had to climb over it. But nonetheless, with Matthew Robinson up here with Jake Hunter and myself, Jake Harold in the booth. Got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, we saw at the very end you were giving it your all. You would get loose out of the corners, but nonetheless, you didn't have anything for James Shanewolf. But second place run, although second does suck. But take us through what your race was like.
Oh yeah, got a little hung up there at the beginning, and finally got up to second, where I could run with James and run his pace and try to figure out a way to get by him. Had a few shots there on some of them restarts. I probably should have moved him up out of the way when I had the chance, but and try to get the lead away from him, see if that had anything, change anything. But no, man, he done a great job. When I first started iRacing, I was in it about a month, and I seen him in a room together, and I've known him for a while, and I didn't really know he had iRacing, and he introduced me to a league, and we've been running ever since 2020, I guess. And so he, if it weren't for him through iRacing, I learned so much, about everything really. Paints, and he helps me out with paints, and you just learn little things and here and there with different apps throughout you use on the computer, and anything I needed, he was there to help me. So and it's pretty cool to see him win, and he's the one I want to beat the most because he's my friend and the closest friend in this league. So but it's still cool I'd rather him win than anyone else.
Yeah, well, you were the only driver in the field to have a top 10 in every single race, a feat that seemed impossible. Your worst finish of the season was 9th. Really, really incredible run there you had. And take us through what next year is going to be like for you with all this momentum going into it.
Yeah, we need a little break from this, but it'd be hopefully it'd be a short little break where I can recharge, and looking forward to. I'm not gonna say what I'm gonna do next season quite yet, but I'll definitely be back, and looking forward to another great season.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see you atop the championship standings in the season's time. I don't think it'll be in a calendar year, but nonetheless, we hope to see you as the champion next year, whatever league, whatever series you decide to run in. Any shout outs you want to give out before you go?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Justin Rideout and JW Racing. I'd like to thank all my teammates, Michael Larch, Nick Holda, Dean Gagliano. We got a whole group of guys, and it's a great group of guys. Looking forward to keep working with them throughout the years, and We got some sponsors. We got Rogue Energy. You can use JW Racing as a discount code. Saloon Door Sports, Married Mechanical, Maxon Industries, and Rufus Sports MMA. Without them, it really helps us out a lot with this. All these different leagues we run, and I'd like to thank my spotter, Patrick Moore. He's been with me every race, so I couldn't do it without him with spotting me and being a crew chief and telling me what we should do with pitch strategy and whatnot. And I'd like to thank all y'all in the booth, for doing the broadcast and running the league. Jacob, Hunter, Harold. And I'd like to thank Brad Slaughter for admin in the ARCA series. It takes time out of his day to come up here and do this, and really appreciate him. He just sits there and watches us race, and so it just takes a special person to do that, and just a great group of guys here at Area. Looking forward to another great season next year.
Yeah, we are looking forward to getting the next season up and going, although we do need a break. Still very eager to see what the next season has in store for us. Have a good night.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, and that was second place driver Matthew Robinson, and now we got, I think Jake's caught up with third place driver Travis Beckner. He's doing a marathon, getting people all in one big group here on pit road.
Yeah, we got a few more we're going to catch up with for sure. We want to get a chance to talk to our championship 4, but also Travis Beckner. Couldn't overlook you tonight, man. Third place running that number 45. Pretty solid way to end the season, huh?
Yeah, it was fun. It was a really fun race. Just wish I didn't speed on pit road. I don't know how I did or when I did, but got an E-well then and got sent to the back after that.
Well, we saw you up front with your teammate up there, James Shainwolf. You guys were racing really hard with each other, but also very clean. You looked like you had a lot of speed, maybe something to contend with there with Shainwolf. Talk us through those first few laps and what Shainwolf has helped you with this season, or just exactly what you've been able to learn from him.
He's really helped me out a lot. He's really tonight he caused me to push more during practice so I could keep up with him. And, at the beginning of the race, I told him I ain't going to pass you because you need that buffer between me and Matthew Robinson. And, so.
Well, Hunter asked the other two guys we were able to get a chance to talk to, Robinson and Shane, what their plans were for next season. I see you got Elite Entertainment on the race car. What are you looking at for next season, and what do you have in store?
Championship. That's what I'm looking for. Championship.
Alrighty, well, short and sweet for Mr. Travis Beckner, third place run here tonight. Travis, I want to give you a chance to give a shout out and thank you to any of your sponsors or anybody tuning in watching you here tonight.
Yeah, I got to thank Shainwolf for helping me out a lot through this season. I also got to thank Adam Capps for bringing me along with him and Elite Entertainment Gaming. And I got a few family members watching tonight. I got my mom, dad, grandparents, and I believe my uncle is also watching tonight.
So
also Cricket for Hotspot, of course. Been running on Hotspot this whole season. Hopefully I get internet soon, so I don't have to deal with blinking out.
Alrighty there, Travis. Well, congrats on the third place run. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.
Yep.
That was third place driver Travis Beckner, Hunter. And we got your favorite, your pick tonight. We're going to get a chance to talk to you next. Obviously, certainly a little dejected, but I believe you got a chance to catch up with Dominic DeLeo.
Yeah, I did not have to do all the running this time because you got everyone in one big group here. So a little bit easier on my part. But got Jake, Harold, and myself, Hunter, in the booth. Dom, got a copy.
Hey guys, I got a copy. 10-4. How you guys doing?
Doing good. I think we're both still winded from running on the pit road here. I had to climb a fence. I don't know how you got here, Jake, but nonetheless, what a run you had from the beginning of the season to the very end, just to get into the championship 4. Although it wasn't your night, still rallied with an 8th place finish. But take us through what your race was like.
Yeah, the whole race. I felt like heading into the Final Four, I was talking to my teammate, 51 of Mark Patterson beforehand. I'm like, no matter what happens, I'm not going to be disappointed. And then incident on lap 38 happens, and now I'm disappointed. I hate for a call to determine kind of the season, and I'm going to voice my disagreement with the call. The admins have been great all season. It's every right to make that call as far as the EOL is concerned. But I felt it was a racing incident, but that's reasonable minds can disagree. After that EOL was really tough to pass here. Just like the last couple races, had a really good long run car. Felt like if it got down to lap 40 to 60, on fuel, I could really make up some ground as long as I stayed there. But once I started 13th or 12th on that restart, it just wasn't going anywhere. Then just decided to short pit, probably around lap 60, and was hitting the marks, wide open racetrack, and was really thinking that I was going to make it interesting once the leaders kind of cycled through, and maybe I would come out a couple seconds ahead, get a lucky caution or something like that. But then I think the 34 self-spun there and kind of threw that strategy out the window. And then I was just, do I save a set of tires? Do I go for it? If I put a set of tires on it on that last caution, probably could have contended for a podium. But congrats to James, 31. He was super fast all race, super fast all season. 40 and Matthew Robinson, super fast. Those guys were the guys I was trying to emulate week in, week out, getting better, getting more consistent. And 69 Gary Lewis, had fun with him racing there at the end there. But the race just didn't go our way, and it's just kind of unfortunate because knew we had a car. If the race turned out the way that played into our hands with the long runs, it could have worked. But that's racing. So that's we're happy with. I guess I don't know if third place is what we're officially taking home, but I'm happy with that considering all things at the start of the season, starting 12th, coming in the playoffs, starting 8th in the second round, and just it's just happy to be here.
So you took the underdog path on your way from the regular season all the way to the championship for what's Fazekas Motorsports got in store for next year?
Fazekas Motorsports is coming back. It's depending on what series and what seasons guys are running. I'm sure me and Mark will be back. He's been improving a lot over the last couple weeks. He qualified 4th or 5th, I think, today. And just, he's been showing more speed, more consistency, kind of like my path coming in, where you start the race, start the season around a bunch of guys who race fast and just try to learn and hit lines and figure out what makes you fast. And he's definitely on track for that. So we're looking at running again, running it back. We want to kind of defend our podium championship finish here, and we'll see what the series and the days plays out. But happy to be a part of Araya, Jacob, Hunter, Harold, Wendigo Studios, everybody. You guys put on a hell of a show here, and just happy to be a part of it again. Thanks to the admins. Thanks to friends and family watching. My wife, my mom, grandma, pop-up, 51 Mark. Great job again. All my friends and family. Eat, Sleep, Race, the sponsor, Swift Lifestyles. If I forget anybody, I'm sorry. Forget any sponsors, I'm sorry. But just like I said, wasn't thinking I was going to be disappointed no matter what the finish, but I can't say that I'm not disappointed. So,
nonetheless, the third place finish in the championship is just fuel to the fire, something to build off of for the next season. Have a good night.
Absolutely. 10-4. See you guys.
All right, that was third place in the championship, Dominic DeLeo. We'll catch up with, I believe, fourth place that finished in the championship, Mr. Gary Lewis and his Alan Kulke throwback scheme, and I think Mr. Jacob Bell has caught up with him.
Yeah, I am here, Hunter, but I'm going to let you take this one away. I'm still wrapping up on a few things on the back end here.
Well, Jake's got other priorities to focus on, so I will be talking to Mr. Gary Lewis. Gary, how's it going?
How's it going, man?
Doing pretty good. I gotta say, I do love the paint scheme choice here.
Thank you.
Alan Kulke throwback, especially at a track where he started the Polish victory lap, and was hoping to see you do the same, but nonetheless, still an impressive drive here in the season to make it to the championship four. Take us through what your race was like.
Oh, I mean, I knew I was going to have my hands full. I've known Shane Wolf for years, and I know Phoenix is one of his best tracks. So butchered my qualifying, had a decent lap, but I could have been better. But it just didn't go my way. Let's just put it that way.
Well, nonetheless, you
Okay.
and Forrest Smith. I was going to say you and Forrest Smith locked up the team championship. One Mind to Design, now going to be Transcendent Motorsports next year. So take us through what that was like, because you two started a full race behind, but nonetheless you managed to prevail your way throughout the season.
Yeah, me and Forrest, again, we've known each other now for a few years. We went back racing on Xbox on, NASCAR heat games and all that. And we were in another league, and we just wanted to try something different. And thankfully, Drew and Nick Trader, they friends of ours, and they asked us to hop in here and run for them. And couldn't ask for a better team, honestly. Everyone works together, and if it wasn't for Forrest, we wouldn't have won the championship, and I know he would say the same thing. We pushed each other the whole year.
Well, we've asked everyone tonight, and I've got to ask you here, what are your plans looking like for next season in an area?
Still up in the air. I will be running at least one full series, but it's still up in the air which one I'm going to run. So, but I'll definitely be back.
And we hope to see you back and Forrest Smith back. Are there any shout-outs you want to give out before you go?
Well, of course, you guys up here in the booth, Jacob Bell, every admin, best run league I've ever been in. Loved every second of it. I got to thank Drew and Nick Trader for One Mind to Design. James Shane Wolf does amazing paint work. He couldn't do this one. This one's a Drew Trader special. Shane Wolf said he had a little problems with it. But Forrest Smith, Dustin Carroll, Vern Hawkins, like I said, couldn't have had a better team. Got to Swift Lifestyles for sponsoring, and just everyone that tunes in. I mean, this has been a blast.
Well, we can't wait to see what is to come next year from Transcendent Motorsports and from yourself. Have a good night.
All right, you guys too.
That was fourth place in the championship standings, Gary Lewis from One Mind to Design, now going to be Transcendent Motorsports, and I believe that's all we got.
That's all we got, Hunter.
And we'll take a look at our race results for the Swift Lifestyles Championship race here in the desert. Phoenix Raceway. James Shane Wolf won the race, led every single lap, and won the championship as well. Couldn't have done it any better, and I believe he ended the race with the fastest lap as well, but we'll see that in just a moment. Matthew Robinson with the second place finish in the championship standings along with the race. Travis Beckner with a third place finish, podium finish, and Vern Hawkins, Sean Corcoran rounding out the top five. Then we got Eli Green, Paul Irvin, Dominic DeLeo, third in the championship standings, but eighth in the race. Forrest Smith finishing ninth, just in front of 10th place driver and teammate Gary Lewis, who comes home fourth in the championship standings.
Mark Patterson with an 11th place run here tonight will cap off his season in the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series. Nicholas Halda got the win at Daytona Race 1. The final race of the season, he's going to come home P12. Adam Capps with a 13th place run to end his season. Brian Dixon finishes 14th tonight. Jeremy Horn brings it home in the 15th spot. The 66 of Bobby Tinch comes home 16th. Rick Ward, Rick Christensen, Nicholas Trader, and Ryan Swan round out our final few finishers here tonight at Phoenix Raceway, our final race of the season.
Yep, and our final Elwood Designs race recap of the season for the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series. So James Shane Wolf led all 120 laps. He got the win. Had 4 yellows for 16 laps, a bit more than expected. And of course, James Shane Wolf with the fastest lap of the race, which I believe it came in that last run, which you assumed. I wouldn't be too happy if I was crew chief run lap times that quick that early into a run, but nonetheless, it all worked out for James Shane Wolf. And guys, got to ask any final thoughts before we wrap it up here in Phoenix.
I just want to say thanks to you, Hunter, being out here every night, or every Monday night, I should say, being the lead guy here in this series on the mic. You did a tremendous job, and Harold is always producing each and every Monday night. Just a tremendous job by both of you guys. And the league, I'll speak on behalf of Area, definitely lucky to have you guys as a part of this and helping this thing grow. So just big shout out to you guys and appreciate all your work this season.
I had to clear my throat there, but nonetheless, we appreciate it. Appreciate it, and really great to see this the foundation being built from the ground up, and excited for what's yet to come from Area. Harold, any final thoughts?
Well, this is kind of one of those bittersweet moments, the end of a long first season. Now it's time to turn our eyes to the next chapter of Aria, but we still have 3 races to come back here in Phoenix. Tomorrow night, the trucks. Wednesday night will be the Xfinity cars, and then we'll be finishing Aria inaugural season with the Cup Series on Thursday night.
Yep, so make sure you tune in Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night, all at 8:40 Eastern on the Area iRacing Twitch channel. And make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Area iRacing for all updates. And for everything else Area, go to areairacing.com to find multiple news articles and sources, because we're going to be expecting some announcements here in just a couple of weeks. From all that's up here in the booth, to Jacob Bell and Harold Darner, I'm Ira Sleppy saying so long, and we'll see you later.
What an exciting race, brought to you by Wendigo Studios. Here they come, out of turn 4, to the white flag, and it's 1 to go. Thank you to all our sponsors, drivers, and viewers. We'll see you at the next turn.